Hello, everyone. So, I feel that I have to get more politically active after this election, and I'm hoping that this will mean something. I mean, I'm a little bit doubtful about that, and all I could say is like I think that people take for granted, um, basically like if you're on Facebook and you're like an SJW, like sharing stories and putting political posts, down. Like, yeah, it's a little bit, armchair activism, but at the same time, like, it's a little bit of an educational thing, and like you're spreading awareness, getting people interested and engaged in the sense that like they want to think about political ideas. So I don't, I think that the older generation wants to dismiss us for that, but I don't think it's the be all end all, but I think it's an important thing to want to spread an ideology and an agenda, if you will. I think that's good. I mean, civil discourse is something that's very important in our democracy. So let's talk about the election. A lot of people are upset. I don't blame them. It's kind of a shit show. Let's start with where I'm coming from politically, just to get that out of the way. I'm a progressive, kind of have like a little bit of a libertarian streak, but yeah, I don't know. But I feel like that's just me saying that I like small government, perhaps in certain ways that others wouldn't. Guns as an example. And probably, yeah, like probably your average progressive would be like very strict gun reform. Like I don't know. I'm for a universal background check, but still, yeah. Like I think state by state should be certain things that are different if you have a universal background check. Yeah, like maybe certain states are more stricter than others. I don't know, but I'm for less government intervention with guns. That's, I guess, the best way you could put it. Yeah. So that's where I'm coming from, and this is why I voted for Hillary Clinton, because of one, the Supreme Court. I think it's very important that we have liberal policies and liberal ideas coming out of the Supreme Court. I think, recently we had gay marriage passed in all 50 states. That was a great thing. Um, we had abortion has gone in a more progressive direction now, and I think it's great. I mean, we've only we've only had good things like coming from liberal decisions, at least in recent history. So I think it's great, and unfortunately she lost, so that's gone now. Can't happen. I have no idea what will happen with the Supreme Court now, but we'll have to wait and see. Deregulation is the second thing. Trump just goes a little too overboard for me, to say the least. And he talks, about red tape and like taking all the laws away, like all these like cumbersome laws, like you drive away jobs. You know anything he's talking about. Because if he did, okay, I'll go off on this tangent just for a second. If he did, he would know that like the corporations are the ones using these tax loopholes. It's not like your like average small businesses like I really want to just invest my money in the Cayman Islands. No one does that. Okay, rich people are using the system to dodge all the taxes, and they effectively sometimes pay like no tax when they have money overseas. So that's why, yeah, like I have no idea with Trump anymore. He wants to encourage people to come back, companies, and he's gonna like add like tariffs to imported goods and all that. But he wants to lower corporate taxes. He wants to lower taxes like across the board, I guess. But that's a failure for him. It will be because he doesn't want to cut the military. He wants to probably up military spending. He wants to do all this infrastructure spending, but he's going to lower taxes across the board. It's never going to work. Never going to work. Anyone who knows anything about economics knows that. So, yeah, and then he wants to get rid of the EPA. He wants to get rid of the FDA. He has an unprecedented view about how, in what direction our government should go. He wants to, like, totally change everything because I'm down and this is the way this is the way I think it should be. Okay? It's true. Might do some Donald impersonating while I'm doing this video. Just so you know. So okay, let me talk about why this victory of Trump's is hypocritical. He talked a lot about corruption. Talked a lot about how Hillary is a Washington insider. And, that it's all corrupt. Washington's all corrupt. And I think he's right. Yeah, that's totally true. But there's one little problem. He didn't win the popular vote. He won by the Electoral College. Now, this has happened 2 times in my lifetime. I'm 22 years old. This happened in 2000 with Bush versus Gore. That one was a little bit more complicated. I went to the Supreme Court, but this time he didn't win the popular vote, and they're running around saying that people have spoken. We have a mandate. It's great. We have all 3 branches of government, and we have a mandate. It's great. The people have spoken. So don't dispute. Well, I'm going to dispute it to a certain degree. For one, look, we pride ourselves on living in a democracy. Okay, I know historically we really aren't. We're more like a democratic republic, but we like to think of ourselves as a democracy now. And that's the direction that we're going in. It's the direction the country has been going in. If you look at all the major reforms, amendments we made to the Constitution, and just basically, I guess you could say, the way we do elections, a lot of these changes, probably all of them, are just more in line with making our country more democratic. I mean, the way senators are chosen now, the way there's no poll tax, that was an amendment. It's just become, and of course, yeah, we gave black people the right to vote. We gave white people, women the right to vote. I mean, just brushing you up on some basic history here, but we've become more democratic. So this is the way our country's going. And now Trump doesn't have it. And he wants to pretend that, the people have spoken, but it doesn't work that way. It does work that way because that's the way the Electoral College works, but this is why people are saying not my president. They care more this time than they did with it in 2000, and I think it's because it's Trump. I don't know what to think of Trump anymore in terms of what he's going to do, and we'll get to that. Because he's just not principled. He's proposed some pretty progressive things now. He's saying he's not going to repeal Obamacare. I've read into that, and I think that might be a little bit bogus. But I'll wait and see what happens. I know Mitch McConnell wants to repeal Obamacare, as it might be anyway. So, there are people saying now he doesn't want to rip up the Iran deal. It was something that he talked about a lot too. He took the Muslim ban off his website, and now I guess apparently it may have been put back on, but that's really shady, isn't it? your candidate is just going back on all these different things as soon as he's elected. And by the way, like about him being a hypocrite because of the corruption. So I think that if he was really principled, he would say like let the popular vote candidate become president because look, he even said in 2012 when Obama won the election, he said the Electoral College is corrupt. So he wouldn't say it's corrupt if he won and he didn't win the popular vote. I mean, Obama won the popular vote, and he said it was corrupt. So you're starting to see that there's just no connection to reality anymore. Not with Trump supporters. There's nothing that, if there's no contradiction that they won't forgive him for. It's just the way it works. So he's a hypocrite. Been over that. Yeah, he's let corporations start influencing now. He's surrounding himself with bankers, the donors. They call them his advisors. And yeah, I mean, presidents have had advisors throughout history. But he's surrounding himself with all the elite people, the hedge fund people, all the people that he said when he ran that they're corrupt. And literally, somebody that Clinton was, floating around for Secretary Treasury, I think, worked for J.P. Morgan. Now, and he criticized Hillary for picking that person. And it's like a totally, like they're in their establishment bubble, like in their banker, they only care about what benefits them. And so Hillary gets criticized for that, and now Trump is basically like he's considering this same guy. What does that tell you? Tells you he doesn't care about what he says. It doesn't matter. The supporters will make excuses for him or just ignore it, and it doesn't matter what he says. Doesn't matter the fact that he's going back on all of his policy things. Whatever. They aren't even policy things. They're just stupid ideas he has. So, people are talking about how we have a thing called the faithless electors, and that's, if you don't know the way our system works, faithless electors means that we have electors in each state. It's dependent on who's in Congress, the number of people by state who's in Congress, and they're pledged to certain parties, obviously the two main parties. So they vote the way that they're pledged. In December, they cast their ballots, and 99% of the time they vote the way that they pledged. There's like some minor repercussions depending on what state that you're in, and you get fined, but there's not really any repercussions if you don't vote the way you're pledged. So a faithless elector would be someone who voted against what they pledged they would do. And what I would say with this is that there's probably a greater chance than we've had in previous elections of the electors switching, but I still think it'd be unprecedented and very controversial. I don't think they would go for that. But we'll see. I mean, maybe in the next couple weeks, like the protests will escalate more, and maybe something very extraordinary will happen. I don't know, but I just think it's wishful thinking. Because they're in their establishment bubble. I just don't think they really care about what any average Joe wants. In that respect, like oh, we want you to vote this way. I don't think they'll do that. And yeah, so I talked about how his progressive proposals, like I don't know what he's gonna follow up on. He has said some progressive things even on the campaign trail, like TPP. I don't really think it'll get voted on. They're saying that it's dead right now. Probably get renegotiated as a different deal. So we'll have to watch out. Watch out for any trade deals that come by that may not be a TPP by name. Basically have the same provisions. And that's kind of how politics works, if you don't know. A lot of window dressing, as it's called. So who's to blame? Who is to blame? I have a complex view of this. I don't think it's quite a simple answer. I think I'll start with the least blame. So I guess it comes down to like three things. One being the voters. Now, not the third-party voters, so don't get me wrong here. Because look, half the country didn't vote. So I'm not for, if you really want to be critical of third-party voters, then you have to be critical of the other half that didn't vote at all. I also just think it's kind of silly because we pride ourselves on living in a democracy, and someone really cared enough to go out and vote, and then you just want to criticize the way that they vote. Well, I think that's stupid. At least you voted at all. That's all I can say. But I blame the voters a little bit because, like in states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Ohio, these states have usually gone Democratic. And they didn't this time because Hillary didn't fill that void of the populist, economic populist. Trump was talking about these things in anti-TPP and talked about just basically emboldening the middle class. And she didn't fill that void. She wasn't exciting enough. So, but I would blame them anyways, even though Hillary was very weak as a candidate. I still blame people because they don't have the nuance and knowledge to know that it's just not going to work out the way that Trump says. He's not going to do the things that he said. I mean, I'm sorry, but he's probably going to pass another trade deal. But if it's not TPP, it's probably going to be exactly like it is when Bush was president. And the reason being, he's surrounding himself with people that are, corporatists, hedge fund people, banksters, and just honestly the same people that probably would have been surrounding Hillary Clinton too. There's no difference. The only difference is you have the added racism and xenophobia. Trump policy-wise just wants to totally change the way a country is structured. Get rid of the EPA, get rid of the FDA. Repeal every one of Obama's executive orders. Every one. Now, let me put this in context for you. Obama had about 265 executive orders so far. And they say, oh, he's such a, I don't know, they basically make him look like an authoritarian dictator, and he totally disregards the Constitution and all that. Ronald Reagan had 381 executive orders. Conservative icon. More executive orders than Obama. I'm sorry. You don't get to have your cake and eat it too. You can't call him an authoritarian dictator or something like that, to that effect, and not call Reagan that too. Okay? Sorry, my computer went to sleep. Okay. So I blame the voters for not being very nuanced in their knowledge of the country. And okay, so that leads me to blaming the media. You didn't do your job. Didn't do your job. You focused the whole time on what Trump said in 2005, which was a big thing. Yeah, I get it. But you focused too much on his character, and you didn't have anything policy-wise to say about him. You didn't talk about all the deplorable things he said. You didn't talk about how he said he would kill the families of ISIS, how he would torture even if it doesn't work. Like, these are scandals, and they're not scandals in today's news. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, they didn't run with that story. It's a huge story. Could have came up in the debates, could have been a real opportunity for Clinton to go after him, which seems odd because I think, I don't know. I don't even know at this point if the media was in Hillary Clinton's, like if they were biased in favor of Hillary, because it seems like now they're going to have a field day with a Trump presidency, so I don't even know. But, I mean, we know Don Brazil handed off a question to Hillary, so that's a little bit of corruption right there. So, I don't know. They didn't run with that, and they really failed at trying to inform the people of what was important. Like, you can talk about, he said some naughty language, said some bad words. Do you think people really care about that? Do you really think people don't think the president says the F word sometimes? Our children are watching. Our children are watching. That's the message we should love. Okay. So, yeah, the Democrats are to blame a lot too, because they rallied behind the wrong candidate, and that gave them the wrong message. So, that's just the way it is. They hid Bernie Sanders from view. They rigged the debate schedule so that it would be like I remember it was like during the Super Bowl or something. They basically systematically put it in places that they knew not a lot of people would watch. And they just didn't expose his message. They were clearly more in favor of exposing Hillary's message. And Hillary's message was very vague, but basically the one takeaway I guess you could take from it is, continue the progress we've made. And this is why she failed. It's because it's fine to say that you've made progress, but if you don't evoke change, you're not going to get anywhere. Obama's done now. 8 years are up now. People don't want to hear, like, oh, I'll basically do the same thing that he would do. That's it, basically. Because less people voted for her than they did for Obama. Like, about 7 million people. 7 million people. And it's not just whites. It's blacks, Latinos, too. And I don't know the exact breakdowns, but they're in the millions, too. Like, you didn't have an exciting message. Bernie had an exciting message. Like, if anything, if Hillary was going to run, then she should have had Bernie more involved. Maybe she should have chosen him as a VP. I don't know. But whatever it was that they decided to do clearly didn't work. So I'm tired, and I want to try and do something. So now I'm going to say what you should do. So obviously, yeah, I said before, spreading awareness is very important, but you also have to talk to the politicians in your local government. It's the only way you get change through. At least excuse me, change in the sense that you want to get the people's viewpoints out there and make sure you're represented. You talk to local government, your mayor, everyone. Talk to as many people as you can and get involved. Call the local DNC office. Tell them that you want more progressive leadership. That's at least what I want. I mean, I don't know what you want, but I want someone like they want Keith Ellison. I think is like a leading contender for the leader of the DNC to be replaced. So I think that's a good choice. I'd even be happy if Elizabeth Warren did too. Yeah, just make sure that you're getting your voice out there. And yeah, I mean, because I just feel like it has to be said that I'm with all the protesting that's going on out there. I really am concerned with the direction our country's going in. I'm concerned and all that. Like, I'm not trying to take away from the anger because I think the anger is kind of justified to a certain point. Because I feel like we also have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, it's scary. But yeah, going out and yelling and with your sign, I feel like it's not productive. It's not productive enough. I mean, it's really scary to think that Trump had no ground game, had no basically organized campaign on the ground getting him votes, and yet he won. He won not the popular vote, but again, the Democratic firewall was broken. These states that usually vote blue didn't go blue. And unfortunately, that cost Hillary the election. I think you could almost look at it just from that angle and see that she didn't win those states that she was supposed to win. But I would still, at the end of the day, say it's not a good thing that she won the popular vote and he's president. It just goes to show that we need to get rid of the Electoral College. A very important reason why is because there's this winner-take-all system where there's no proportionality. It's not based on what district votes what. The electors just all go to whatever candidate wins that state. I'm afraid that's just not democratic. If we want to pride ourselves on living in a democracy, we need something different. Simple as that. So I think that's about it. Just try and get involved. Try and get your opinions out there. And keep a lookout for new videos. I will be posting more, probably closer to when Trump is in office. And I want to basically just report on the news and just keep a watchful eye on what's happening. And yeah, I'm thinking that by doing these videos, that'll keep me more regimented. And it will also be a little bit more active than what I've been doing. So that's it. Thank you for watching, everyone. And signing out.